Maqasidic Tafsir.
Where should I begin when I'm starting at the end? Pursuing the higher aim, learning the meaning of every page. Where should I begin when I'm starting at the end?
Assalamu alaikum. Sunnahfollowers presents a new class, the Maqasidic Tafsir, being taught and brought to you by Ustada Layla Nashiba. Please stay tuned, streaming on all major platforms, right here on channel Sunnahfollowers.
Okay, this is based on the book written by Sheikh Kareem Abu Zaid. It's called the Maqasidic Tafsir, Volume 1. And for those of you who have not yet purchased this book can be purchased on Amazon. Go to Amazon.com. The book is only $19.99. It should be a part of your library because this is part of our curriculum here at Sunnahfollowers. And this book is so important because what you guys are learning in this class is you're learning the science of the Quran. This is a class, basically, you're not going to find a masajid or a masjid. You're not going to find a masjid that teaches this class. This is a class that you would only take if you were going to school to study, to get a degree in the science of the Quran. So this is a class that you would only take at a school such as El Azhar University or something if you wanted a degree, a PhD in the science of Quran. So this is not a tafsir class. It's not a class whereas you have a lady sitting here reading the stories from the Quran and then reading from Ibn Kathir's opinion of what the stories mean. No, that's not the type of class here. This class is to teach you how you yourself can read the Quran, the words, using the sciences that the interpreters of the Quran use, so that you can walk away with a better understanding of what Allah is telling you, and in turn apply it to your life so you can change the condition of yourself to that which is pleasing to Allah. Everybody understand? So this is not a Quran Tafsir class. Okay, no, this ain't no Layla Nashiba reading the Tafsir of Ibn Kathir. No, this is none of that. This is a class to help you to use the same tools that the scholars use to reach high and try to grasp the understanding of Allah's words and apply them in your life like those companions did. You're learning about the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yesterday, Brother Mukhtar was teaching the history of Islam. He was teaching about how the Muslims had their first battle against the Romans, and how many of the people that were on the Muslim army were eminent companions, like Abu Ubaidah. Abu Ubaidah, he was one of the companions that was given the good news of paradise, one of the 10. Okay. We had Abdul Rahman, who was the son of Abu Bakr. He was the one that the Prophet made dua for, asking Allah to put his love for his wife in the proper perspective. You're hearing about Amir ibn al-As, another one of the original companions, the one who, when he converted to Islam, he felt that there was no way that he could outdo the Prophet Muhammad in earning Allah's love. So he swore an oath that he would never get married, and he would fast every day and every night of his life nonstop. These companions were part of the army. And then Shuraybil, who was one of the the scribes, one of the Prophet Muhammad's personal scribes, who when he received a verse of the Quran, he would write it down for him. So you guys are learning how about these companions, how they analyzed the words of Allah. They understood the Quran for what it truly is. It's not a creation of Allah. That's the problem. Most Muslims today believe that the Quran is a creation of Allah. It's not. The companions understood that the Quran are the words of Allah. These are Allah's words of advice, Allah's words of admonition, Allah's words telling us what to do, what not to do, that will bring about a better outcome from us in this world and the hereafter. Those companions, they analyzed, pondered the meaning of Allah's words, and they understood what Allah was saying, and they lived by it. They were in war from the moment they embraced Islam until their death. There was constant war. These were the dark ages of history, where the entire earth was nothing but pillage. You had the Vikings pillaging, plundering, trying to claim what was not theirs. You had the Franks, you had the English people, you had the Egyptians, you had the Mongols, you had all the Romans, the Persians. The dark ages were the worst times in man's history here on earth. So we got Muslims today who complain about what they see on TV and what's going on in Gaza. What's going on in Gaza is nothing compared to what those original companions experienced. The entire earth was at warfare. Everybody out to get what wasn't theirs. Man had lost hope. Islam brought back hope. But Islam also brought rules. Islam brought conditions because, again, the Quran are the words of Allah. Allah let it be known you can't rape and kill and take what isn't yours. Allah let man know that the earth doesn't belong to you. None of you own a piece of this earth. Allah let it be known that He created the earth. The earth belongs to Him. And we can live anywhere on this earth as long as we can practice our religion. Nobody owns a piece of the rock, although it's man's desire to take and own. So the Quran are the words of Allah. Advice, admonitions, warnings, commands from Allah to us. And those companions would read the Quran and take all that to heart. But we Muslims today are not doing that. We're busy trying to learn how to read in Arabic because it sounds beautiful to recite the Quran in Arabic, but we don't even know what we're saying. We don't care what we're saying. We just want to show off that we can sing the Quran. We're not taking the words of Allah and applying them. You read a verse of the Quran, for example, where Allah says that you cannot appoint a non-believer as a ruler over you, that the non-believers, they will never give you a voice. They want nothing but your destruction. These are the words of Allah. The companions read that, they knew that, and they submitted. They never voted for in for elections. The Romans had elections all the time. Where do you think the democracy came from? The Romans and the Greeks. The Romans had elections all the time. Then you don't see no hadith of any of those companions or their predecessors participating in that garbage because they know Allah says that we don't indulge in their affairs. They can't be rulers over us. We respect the laws of the land, but we still maintain our identity, our purpose. The companions understood that. But men and women today don't. You read those verses, you hear me say them or other brothers and sisters say them, and you still out voting in elections because you say, well, I know Allah said it, but still I'm going to vote anyway, or I disagree, or, I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway. Arrogance. And we wonder why Allah has sent so much punishment. And that's what war is. It's punishment. Why Allah has sent so much punishment to us. So that's what this class is all about. Learning the science as to how to read the Quran and better understand it, and in turn incorporate it in your life and live it. That's the higher aim of the Quran, for you to interpret it correctly and apply it. That's the aim, the high aim that every one of us as Muslims should be trying to establish. And today we're going to look at some more of the warnings and the admonitions, the words of admonition that Allah gives to us in the Quran. Again, he addresses everything. He tells us about marriage, how to have children, how to raise them, how to live in non-Muslim lands, how to live in a Muslim land, how to take a bath, how to clean yourself, everything. Allah completed this religion. He didn't leave anything out. All we have to do is reach high to understand what Allah is telling us, and then aim high to put it into practice. So let's put the PowerPoint up on the screen. The last time we met, we went over some of the examples of how Allah gives us advice and warnings and admonitions. Well, we're going to do more examples. Let me put this down. More examples of Quranic admonitions, and we're going to use the sciences that we talked about. What the major sciences that we use to understand the Quran is, number one, the linguistics. You have to look at the Arabic words. We have to know the Fusha. We have to know the original classical Arabic, the meaning of Allah's words. And then number two, we have to use to analyze how Allah puts those words together and what meaning comes from them. That's why I'm always telling you guys to break it down. I don't want y'all to play the Arabic game. Ain't none of y'all here Arabic speakers. Okay? None of you. You learn it I'm teaching you in English, your language, so you can aim high. You can't aim high and apply it if you don't understand it. Okay, so we look at the sentence structure. Break down each word, the meaning of each word by word. That's another science that's used. And then we use the science of connectivity, because some verses of the Quran connect to others. And the verses of the Quran also connect to the hadiths. So we have to know the science of connectivity and also the science of history. You have to know the history of the Quran, the history. And the only way you're going to learn that is by learning the history of Islam. And the only way to learn the history of Islam is learning by the biography of the Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and those first four leaders that came after him, because that's the history. That's the history. And we're teaching that class here with Brother Mukhtar. Make sure you guys attend his class every Sunday, because there's no such thing as buying a book that's going to break down what those words mean and stuff. No, Allah preserved the Quran. He preserved this religion. The only way you're going to learn it is by learning it from the people of knowledge. You can't teach yourself Islam. You can't read no book and think you're going to walk away and understand it. You guys have tried it with this book. You confused like crazy. You need me to break it down to you. And I wouldn't be able to break it down to you if I didn't study it, if I didn't know this stuff myself, if I hadn't been taught it from my teachers. Okay? So let's look at some more examples. You're going to use those sciences to walk away with a higher understanding of what Allah is trying to convey to us. And let's take a look at the verses of today, for today. And let me move this PowerPoint. This is I tell you this. And again, guys, the Quran is comprised of different texts, different pieces of evidence that motivate and encourage us as to how to live our lives on this earth and to come out to have a better ending in the hereafter. And for example, as we talked about the last time we met for this class, Allah let us know that he made us leaders of this earth. What does that mean? Allah created the earth and he put us here and the earth serves as a testing ground for us to see if we truly do believe in him. The rest of the creation was created to service us. The animals were created to service us, not for us to service them. That's why as Muslims, we are not vegetarians. We don't worship the animals. Allah tells us in the Quran, he created the animals to provide food, clothing, and shelter. So if I want to kill a bear so I can make use of its coat, so I can be warm in the winter, that's why Allah created the bear. The bear dies having fulfilled its purpose. If I want to kill a duck so I can eat, that duck dies well because it fulfilled its purpose. It's when we kill animals for sport that we commit a sin. The Prophet Muhammad told us that on the day of judgment, any animal that you killed just for the fun of it, it's going to plea against you. It's going to say, oh Allah, he killed me for no purpose. I did not serve my purpose. The animals know that they were created to service us. Just like the sun, the moon services us. The earth, the mountains provide a service for us. The bees, the ants, all provide a service for us. So that's what Allah means when he says in the Quran, it is he who appointed you, human beings, as vicegerents here on earth, which means leaders and rulers on earth. The animals don't rule us. There's no planet of the apes. You don't have to ever worry about that becoming true, where we'll wake up one day and the animals are our lords over us. That will never happen. So we can see from this one verse here that one of the higher aims of the Quran, one of the higher aims of the words of Allah is to let us know not only what our purpose is in life, but the purpose of the other creations of his too. And that we live here on earth without violating or being unjust to Allah's other creations. Again, if I'm going to kill an animal, it's to make use of its fur, its meat, or to protect myself from it. I'm not going to just go out and go deer hunting and waste their lives for nothing just to take a picture of big antlers. So good character is what the Quran imposes upon us, to have good character, good behavior, good judgment, even with the rest of Allah's creation. As Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning, and cause not corruption upon the earth after its reformation, and call upon Allah in fear and hope. Indeed, the mercy of Allah is close to those who do good. So we don't go around destroying the earth, even though the earth was created to service us. Another example of admonition or admonishment that Allah gives us in regards to the earth, how to care and be respectful for the other lesser creations of Allah. We have the story of the whale of Ramia. the well of Ramia, which still exists. And by the way, this is a picture of it. This is a picture of the well of Ramia. This well was owned by a Jew who charged a high price to the Muslims just to gain water from this well during the life of the prophet. And again, this is a real picture of it. This is the well. It's preserved to this day. Okay. One of the companions tell us the prophet one day said, you know, he got sick of it. He got sick of this Jewish man charging all this money just so the people could get water to drink and bathe in. This guy was abusing the fact that he had a well and the people lived in a desert that didn't have much water. So the prophet said, whoever buys that well with their own money, the fact that you bought it from that Jew, your bucket will be like a Muslim who donates to other Muslims, and you will have something better than all of that in paradise. In other words, he said, this man is abusing us. He's charging people money that they don't have just to drink from the earth, just to take water that they need. So one of the companions, Uthman purchased the well. He bought the well for 38,000 dirhams. And then he donated that well to the Muslim community. And this well is still in operation today. That's the picture of it. It's still, but it's bigger than it's now. This well is still in operation today. And look at all the blessings that Uthman is getting even to today, this Sadaqa Jariyah. Because this Jew was overcharging just so people could get water for their daily needs. So again, you know, this is an example. Allah puts things here on earth for us to enjoy, but we don't want to monopolize on those things. We don't want to take control over the things that the people need and make yourself rich at the expense of harming others. Listen to what Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning. It is He who made the earth tame for you. So walk amongst its slopes and eat of His provisions, and to Him is the resurrection. So in other words, Allah is telling us, don't go around abusing the earth, taking advantage of the resources that are there. Okay. And also, we have this Arabic word known as hima. In English, this translates to a natural zone, a part of the earth that should be protected for the rest of Allah's creation. For example, a natural wildlife area. Example, you know how the saber-toothed tiger, okay, or the white tiger is becoming extinct, or, you know, elephants in certain parts of the earth are becoming extinct. So they have these wildlife reserves where they tell you don't go there. Don't go there and kill the elephants. Don't poach the animals because they're trying to not let these animals go extinct. Well, this existed even during the time of the prophet, which shows how Allah addressed everything. We have this hadith from one of the companions. He said, this hadith that a lot of you guys hear about and you misconstrue the meaning of. This is the hadith that I have to explain all the time. The hadith about the lawful and the unlawful. Well, when Allah mentioned this word hima, which are places of the earth that should be protected, that you shouldn't go to exploit. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said many of the people do not know whether it's lawful or unlawful to go to this part of the earth and take from it. So if you don't know, whoever leaves it protects his religion and protects his honor, and you will be safe. But whoever falls into that thing that you don't know, then you may have fallen into the unlawful. Just like if you graze your animals around a sanctuary, you will soon wind up in it. Every king has a sanctuary, and indeed Allah's sanctuary is what he made unlawful. So this hadith, is where it shows how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had addressed it. And a lot of people didn't know, well, what do you mean? What's sacred? We don't understand what's sacred. We don't understand what's lawful and what's unlawful. For example, you may not know if it's lawful for a woman to wear pants or not. Stay away from it until you learn if it's lawful or not. Okay? You may not know if the gelatin that's in this yogurt is made from a chicken's foot or a pig's foot. So stay away from it until you find out. This is how you protect your religion. So this analogy of a nature preserve shows that, even in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they had parts, of the earth that were reserved just for the animals or just for certain things. Don't take from here, don't take from there. And to violate such a zone would be sinful. So like I tell you guys all the time, there is nothing that we experience in this world today that those companions have not already experienced. They had natural preserves just like we have too. Also, we have this hadith where the Prophet said, there is no hima except for Allah and his messenger. We have been told that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam made a place called Anaki as a hima. And Umar, during his caliph, he made a sharaf, a hima, a sanctuary. And hima means sanctuary. And he made another place called Arabada as a sanctuary for the animals. So sanctuaries have always existed, even in the Prophet's time. And as you guys know, the harem is a sanctuary. The harem is a sanctuary. Okay. So again, guys, Allah, when you read the Quran, Allah tells us that even though we are leaders here on earth, rulers here on earth, higher than the other rest of his creation, we still have to be respectable when we come into other creations environments. For example, like the Prophet told the told the companions one day, they were on a military expedition and somebody had burnt an ant hill. The Prophet said, who burnt this ant hill? Every creation, every animal has its own community. You don't come into their community and destroy it like that. Okay? So without the hima, the higher aim of conservation would lack authentic spiritual reward and motivation. So Allah lets us know in the Quran and through the example of the Prophet Muhammad that we have to respect the conservative, protected areas here on earth. Okay? And also, the Quran, which are the words of Allah. The Quran in and of itself is a miracle too. The miracle of the Quran is that, number one, not only does it address all issues relating to man, but even the wording, the meaning, Allah's laws, Allah's rules, they are free of any imperfections. As we talked about yesterday, there are no imperfections in Allah's names and his attributes. There are no imperfections in his laws and his rules. His laws, his rules, his commands are for all time. You can't say because this is 2024 and we got LGBTQ as illegal in America that we can tweak Allah's laws. LGBTQ existed in the prophet's time too. Allah destroyed a whole nation of people before him for that. But Allah still says we can't support it. Allah still says that we have to do al-bara against it. Listen to what Allah says in the interpretation, the meaning. And if you Arabs and Jews and Christians are in doubt concerning this Quran that was sent to our servant Muhammad, then produce a chapter like it and call yourself witnesses and supporters besides Allah if you are truthful. So if you think that the Quran is not for all time, that it's outdated, then you produce something like it. You will never be able to do that. There will never be perfection in what you produce. There'll always be a con to it. Okay? So that's the miracle of the Quran. The Quran asserts the divinity of Allah. And Allah will always preserve it. That's why I was telling the young brother this past Friday, the young brother that was questioning, he was questioning whether Allah is lying or not. When Allah says that this religion will always be protected, that our enemies will never, ever destroy us. This brother was questioning, is Allah telling the truth? Because I see people talking bad about us. What that got to do with anything? Talk is cheap. They talked bad about Jesus, about Noah, about Moses, about Solomon. But did that stop Islam? No. People can talk all they want to. Talk ain't never hurt nothing. Allah protects this religion. Allah preserves it. And Allah speaks the truth. Just because people say bad things about Muslims on Facebook, what they got to do with the cost of tea in China? Those same people say bad things about themselves too. Those same people disrespect their own mama. So what do you care? Because you see non-believers saying bad things about Muslims, that makes you think that they're in control over us? Talk is cheap. Okay, so the Quran asserts the divinity of Allah. And Allah has said that this religion, the Quran, will always be preserved. It'll always be protected, just like the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad. Even though we have all these innovators today, all these different sets and groups, the Sunnah is still real. The Sunnah is still protected. Okay? So that's what makes the Quran such a miracle. It's a miraculous testimony that proves that not only is Allah, but it also proves that our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came with a mission and he completed it. He completed his mission.